Welcome to a Simplex converter to a Great Western Railway Prairie tank, part 48. The repainting begins. I'm starting the video by removing the gland packing from the gland nut of the water pump. Then I cleaned up the gland nut on my polishing spindle, and when I refit it to the pump after I've finished the painting, I'll be using a silicone O-ring to seal it. In this clip I've temporarily fitted the nut. It's very cold in the workshop today and the paint is very thick, which is a bad combination for painting. My workshop heating is actually an air conditioning unit, which is pretty good at keeping the workshop cool, but it's not so good at making it very hot. Here I'm thinning the paint using some white spirit. And what is the paint, I hear you all ask? Well, it's Phoenix Precision Paints as usual, Buffer Beam Red. And here is the pump. It's cleaned up about as well as I can clean it up realistically. So here we go with the paintbrush. It's never going to look pretty, but thankfully this is down in the bowels of the engine between the frames. And this is the front wheel set, which also has the eccentric sheave and strap that drives the water pump. Once again, it's as clean as I can realistically get it. I'm not going to go too mad and be pedantic about every speck of grease. This is oil-based paint anyway, so it will work fine. Trust me on this, it's not good, I know, and I should try harder. But I'm being realistic. This is a 5-inch gauge model of a Simplex locomotive, and it wasn't very well built or painted in the first place. After painting the wheel set that has the eccentric drive to the pump on it, it's time to move to the rear wheel set. This one has a shroud over the axle, and what I will be doing, just before I put the wheel set back into the frames, I'll be sealing the gap between the shroud and the axle box to stop any ingression of ash into the bearing. Because as I mentioned in a previous episode, this axle is right underneath the ashpan. I've seen some terrible wear on rear wheel axle boxes, where the axle box is worn very oval. But on this locomotive, thanks to the shroud, this one's very good. So that's the red parts of the 3 wheel sets and the water pump completed. There is part of one component yet to be painted red, and this is it, the plumbing for the water pump. After I painted the piping, I fitted it into my vise just to hold it while the paint dries. This is an aerosol cap with white spirit in it, and I'm using it to clean the brush. And here's an observation: these plastic caps from aerosol cans seem to be impervious to cellulose products, but white spirit does over time soften them up and make them distort. I'm going to attempt to break up the monotony of the painting in this video by showing you something. My recording studio. But as I go into this part, I'd just like to say that I got a comment from a Patreon supporter, and the comment said, "Sorry Keith, not really why I signed onto your Patreon channel." And I appreciate the feedback, however I only received the one objection. If you have any objections to me featuring other things on the channel other than videos about repairing and building steam engines every day, then please let me know. Anyway, this is my recording studio, and all the keyboards that you see and the mixer feed into this lot. This is Pro Tools 12 running on a very powerful PC, incorporating a software product called Native Instruments. This is the equipment that I use in my music business. To make the music for the videos, I use this machine. This is a Yamaha Tyros 4, and it's a great piece of equipment. It's semi-automatic, you only need to know a few chords to hold down with your left hand, and then you can play the tune over the top. And whatever you play, you can record. At first this keyboard looks very daunting, with quite a lot of buttons to press, but you don't need to press all of the buttons. In this clip I'm demonstrating how I play very simple chords, which makes the system operate. One of the really good things about the Tyros range of keyboards is this: when you play something, it tells you which chord you're playing. This Tyros 4 keyboard was Yamaha's flagship of the range, but now they're currently onto a model called the Genos. This one has a great feature. It's a music finder button. You press a button and you get a list of songs. You can sort by styles or songs or whatever you want. Here I've selected the song Apache. The keyboard does not play the song Apache by the Shadows. Instead it just plays the rhythm and style of the song and sets up the right hand side of the keyboard with various instruments. This one of course is a guitar sound. This one is called Any Old Iron and it's a pub piano setting. The left hand is coming from the keyboard. It's automatic, provided I play the right chord. The right hand I'm playing manually. I've been a keyboard player for many years, so it's not a problem for me to do this sort of thing. This instrument, though, is a very encouraging instrument for a beginner. You can play along to the rhythms, and at the same time you can record what you're playing and play it back like this. The instrument creates what's called a MIDI file. I won't go into detail about that, it's not a keyboard tutorial. I'm just showing you some of the functions. This was a track I did 2 or 3 years ago, and it's called Robo Beat. It was for a show about a robot. And often, to speed up the process of making music, I would use the Tyros to lay what I would term a bed track. Here's another one. It's not the complete song, it's just the basic rhythm with the right chords. Some of the intros on this keyboard are really well put together. Listen to this one. Then it settles down to a vamp, and you can put your own chords and play over the top of whatever you want. The rest of this video is about painting the top part of the wheel. And please note it's best to paint the spokes first, then clean the brush before painting the centre part, so you don't transfer any particles from the spokes to the centre bit. And for that reason there's a bit of unpainting in the video too. And that's it for the narrative. Please stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.